Good evening, good evening. Thank you all for being here today. This is now our fourth or fifth community conversation. We've been doing them in different sections of the city, different neighborhoods. I want to thank Diana for opening up the library. She's the library director in this beautiful space. I haven't spent enough time here, so it's really, it's been refinished a little bit. Some floors redone, some paint, and it really is a jewel, a crown jewel of the city. So thank you all for coming out here. I know we have a big Beachmont contingent, which I appreciate coming out, and we're actually in Ward 3. So we're joined by Ward 1 City Councilor Joanne McKenna.
Hi.
I also saw a school committee member, John Kingston. Here he is. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. The point of... oh, I'm sorry. School committee member Carol Conklin. So I'm going to sit down now. But the and there's a number of city staff. If folks who work for the city can just raise their hands, so you know, see, we have a number of city staff here as well. And well, I'll go through a quick slideshow, talking a little bit about what's happening in the city, some things that are going on, but really the focus of tonight is hearing from all of you and answering any questions that you may have. So if we can start to click through, here are members of the cabinet, folks that work for the city. We're also joined today by our building commissioner. I saw Mike Wells, our director of ISD, is in the house as well. A number of other people, Randall from 311 representing. But I am very fortunate to work with some of the most amazing people in the city, and they work on behalf of the residents, and just like to give them a shout out whenever I can. So I like to start the conversations talking about you know, the fact that what we want to encourage and really create is an environment that everyone is being respectful and thoughtful in, and so we want to, you know, part of doing these kinds of meetings is so that we hear feedback from everyone, and that people have that sense of belonging in a community. And you know, we are trying to build, and we have been building that community for a long time. And so just want to keep that in mind and call it out, and make sure that folks understand that their voices will be heard, and it's important for us, the folks that work on your behalf every day, to hear your voices directly. So some of the no, we can keep going. Some of the things that we like to do in these meetings is just to frame some of the concerns that we know people have, is to talk about the data that we have, right? So we do try to make data-driven decisions, and so hearing, this is a Ward 1 representation of the types of calls that we have for 311. And so there's, and I'll defer to 311 if they'd like to say anything, but there's nothing that pops out, I don't think, in terms of that's a little bit different than what we've seen. I know when we did and I'll give you an example, we did a Ward 5 meeting with the Point of Pines, and they had a huge uptick in rodent calls. And so we were able to kind of call that out and say, you know, that's an issue that we wanted to talk about. We went into probably a little too much depth on that topic, but you see, you know, there are a lot of other calls that 311 gets all the time, but there were 1,300 requests that have been submitted this year for Ward 1 residents alone. We also have data for, I think, Ward 3, because we're in Ward 3, and you'll see streets and signage is a little bit higher than there, but we generally, 311, like I said, can speak better to this, but most of what we hear from folks that are calling 311 are around sanitation, trash pickup, parking issues. The street and signage is a little bit different, but than some other neighborhoods. But that's, you know, I think it's important to just call out that we do look at this data, we do reflect on it, and we try to make data-driven decisions based on that data. One thing that recently came up, and I want to thank Joanne McKenna for her tremendous work on this. And some of the others, There were a lot of other people that were involved, and this took a very long time. We had been in conversation with McMacken since the day that I took office, and I know folks knew that that was an ongoing thing prior to my arrival in the mayor's office, but we got to the point finally where they made the decision to grant us access and ownership of the McMacken Field. So now that big eyesore is my problem and Joanne's problem and the city's problem. But we're happy to take that on because now what we've been saying for a long time is it's not ours, we can't do anything until it's ours, and now it's finally ours. So you have to be careful what you wish for. Bottom line here is that we truly want to have a community process around what the future of that site looks like. And I've already heard some rumblings about, oh, they're going to build apartment buildings and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. What I'll say is that I don't know if the demand is there for a baseball field. And I see John shaking his head. Like, I have little boys in T-ball at St. Mary's, and I know that the league has been struggling to maintain the number of teams that they have. And I know our T-ball teams were pretty thin, so I don't know if that demand is going to be there for a baseball field purely. But what we had talked about with the Riviera Little League was having that be open space and have it be multi-use space, and I think that would be a good thing for the city. But we will engage the residents, the neighborhood, and just people in the city to hear what people would like to see with that site. But I think that's going to be the first step, and then as this says, we don't have any. I don't already have plans of what we're going to do. There were some plans for building a baseball field down there, and some of the things that would have to be done, and Donnie could probably go into way too much depth on that about how much you'd have to raise it, and the ability for us to have maybe a pump station down there, and there was some work that was done around that, but generally that's we'll have a public process about that. But Joan, do you want to say anything about McMacken?
No, I heard the rumblings too. Everybody is saying, oh, they're going to put condos down there. His intention from the very beginnings was to have a youth sports recreational field, whether it would be baseball or soccer. I mean, there's a high demand for soccer right now. So I'm sure, going forward, this is going to cost millions of dollars because we have to get it up to code on ADA regulations. We have to probably lift it because there's a water problem. So it's going to take millions and millions of dollars to, fix. But his intention has always been for the youth. And I just want to make sure that that's kept like that because we don't have a lot of green space in Revere. So this would be perfect, I mean, I would love to see a pool there. But I mean, all the other urban cities have pools. We're the only one who doesn't. We have Garfield, but we don't have an outside one. So, I mean, that could be a conversation for later, but that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Joanne, and thank you for your work on it. I know you were persistent throughout my entire time in the mayor's office. You've been persistent about the site and cleaning it up and making sure that we're on top of everyone, and we want to make sure that it is a place that young people can enjoy, and what that looks like I think remains to be seen, but it's definitely it can be and should be an asset to the city. So
thank you, Brian.
No, thank you. Just really quickly, and Donnie's going to talk about a little bit more on infrastructure, and I'll hand it off to him, but just a quick update on Suffolk Downs. We are really close to having a life sciences tenant being named in the first phase of Suffolk Downs, so that project is continuing and moving on. I know there's a lot of questions about traffic that we'll get into, but just a quick status update that, you know, the project is moving along, and you know, it's an exciting time that we're gonna, you know, potentially have overflow from Kendall Square and the companies and businesses that have spawned out of Kendall Square. You know, looking at Revere as a home is really exciting. On the high school, we recently purchased, or kind of through eminent domain, have taken the Wonderland site as a site for the new high school. This, you know, project won't be done probably until 2028. You know, I think roughly. But we are in the first phase, which is really picking a location, having a location, and then starting to dig into what that location looks like. So that's happening. If anyone has any questions about that, happy to take them. We also call out Squire Road because we were able to work with. I think it was the Urban Land Institute to start the process of reimagining Squire Road, because tens of thousands of people drive by there every day. It should be and could be a commercial, well, it is kind of a commercial driver and economic driver for the city, but it should be a little bit more, right? And so we just haven't, it's a hodgepodge of, you know, we joke about how you can, like, you know, you can buy a used car, you can get insurance, you can see God, you can, you know, get kitchen cabinets, you can do a million different things there. And there's no like theme, there's no continuity, you know, it's not really, it's not an authentic kind of place that when you drive through, I would like it to be a place where people would say, oh, I'm in Revere, I know I'm in Revere. There are like landmarks or places that people want to be. So, so Squire Road is something that we're taking a look at. And then on the library, and I don't know if Diana wants to say anything in particular, but you know, we've done some work here. It's a beautiful space. We're trying to open it up and make it more community friendly. She's done a tremendous job in terms of having more programming for people of all ages and all backgrounds, and you know, it's just it's a great. It's been an underutilized asset. I actually heard that on my time kind of campaigning and talking to people. I was actually surprised at how many people really love this space, and to be able to invest a little bit of time and effort and energy into it has gone a long way. So thank you, Diana. Come on, come here.
Hello. So I've been working at the library for 10 years. I've been the director for 3, almost 2.5. And since I've been here and since I've known, we've never had a young adult librarian or a young adult space. So I'm really excited to announce that we do have a young adult librarian, and we're working on a young adult space strictly for teens. And tonight we had our first teen social club that were started by 2 teens employees here, and I think maybe 15 kids showed up. So it was very successful, and it was the first one. I'm very excited about that. And this space that we've designated is upstairs. Upstairs is not up to code. So our next project, Donnie and I have been working together to try to create a safer space for the teens to be able to sit and communicate with each other and just enjoy each other's company, alongside, of course, reading. I'd like to introduce the young adult librarian, Christy Maniscalco. We do have a lot going on. We have a new adult services librarian starting next week, so we're hoping to increase our adult services programming and bringing a lot more to the community.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so so now I'm gonna let Donnie do his thing. He gets really excited when we talk about what's happening underground, and it's not a lot of people appreciate the importance of what's happening underground because we don't see it. We don't. It doesn't affect us until it affects us, and then we get really angry about it. So I'll let Donnie do his thing.
So I know there's a lot of complaints and issues down here. This is one of the first things that I was tasked with in 2018. This pipe is actually when I started really talking to Chief Bright. This pipe is in Library Street. This is tuberculation. It's not dirt. I mean, it's not dirt, so to speak. It's minerals. So this is an actual piece of pipe. This is not this pipe. This is actually a 6-inch pipe. This is a 4-inch pipe, but this is tuberculated down to about 2 inches. So essentially, when this pipe was put into the ground, there was a big push in infrastructure in about 1933 in the city. Prior to that, it was in the late 1800s. So this pipe is approximately about 100 years old, and it needs to come out of the ground. Like all pipes in the city of Revere or other cities, as the cities grow, the pipes don't grow. In actuality, they actually get smaller because this is what happens to them. So I started talking to Chris when I saw this pipe, and I knew, these are the problems that we're facing with keeping our neighborhood safe and be able to deliver enough water to the residents. And also, more importantly, to the firefighters if a house catches on fire. Because once the house starts jumping, and these people, the firefighters can't pull enough water. It's nothing to do with pressure. There's nothing to do with pressure. It's volume. So the pumpers that he has, I have to deliver 20 pounds. That's nothing. Our pipes are supposed to hold 350 pounds. Our pipes can't hold 60 pounds because, like on Vane, I had 6 breaks in one day. I had put pressure relief valves on there just to try to relieve the pressure, and I had them dialed down to about 60 pounds, and I still had 6 breaks in a day. And that's when I said, enough's enough. We've got to really focus on our water, because the pumpers that the fire department have, I only deliver 20 pounds. 20 pounds is nothing. And the pumpers can produce all the pressure he needs. They can produce 160 pounds, 200 PSI. Those pumpers have tremendous capability. But I need to deliver volume, and I can't deliver volume out of this pipe. So bad volume is anything under 500 gallons per minute out of a hydrant. That's really bad, that's dangerous. Good volume is 1,000 to 1,500 PSI. But some hydrants do have the ability to deliver more. More the merrier. But so our focus for this area, once I saw this was one of the areas that was put on my radar immediately. And we have engineering services we're in the design phase for the water, and we are going to be having a shovel in the ground next year. 16 of these streets are going to be done, 16, to a total of over 11,000 lineal feet, which is the equivalent of over 2 miles of water mains. That's incredible, because in 10 years prior, the city really didn't even do 3. This year alone, we did over 3. Next year, 4. So our focus is on water. And after the water, why we're doing it next year is because I invited National Grid in here to replace the gas. We're following our utilities. Before, we just really kind of paved streets with no really thought to the fact that, what's in the ground? And so when I joined the administration, we had a few streets that were paved, and the next day we had some water breaks. Kind of a waste. So what I did when we sat with the mayor, and I said, listen, can we please just focus on utilities, and then we go in and pave the street and put in sidewalks. In a lot of the places, there are no sidewalks. So that's our focus. We invited National Grid in to replace the cast iron gas mains that are in the ground, similar to this material, and replace them with plastic. The cast iron gas mains that they have leak gas, which is a greenhouse gas, and they leak about 40% of the gas that they actually get piped up here. And that 40% lost to the atmosphere, like I said, is a greenhouse gas, but also the ratepayers paying for it. So we invited them in here. We became a target and said, hey, listen, let's tear up our streets. Let's, but let's get the pipes into the ground. We know it's a huge inconvenience for people, but there's nothing we can do. We have to look forward. We have to tear up our streets. We have to get new gas lines in there. And then we have to get new water in there. We have to address the drainage issues, because we know there's a lot of drainage issues even in this neighborhood. We have to address the drainage issues. And once all that's done in the street, once everything's good underneath our feet, we can go in and we can put new sidewalks in, we can pave the street, and leave that street alone for, 20 years, hopefully without anybody having to put a new service in or any disruption to the pavement. And that's what we're trying to do. So we have, we're trying to do it very methodically. So this whole area behind us right here, which is 16 streets, will all be done. Like I said, it's 11,000 lineal feet. After that's done, we have a new gas main the following year going down all of Beach from Broadway to Bell Circle. So what that's going to do is that's going to tie in. That's a 12-inch. Some places it's a 12, some places it's 16. We're going to upgrade it to probably about a 20-inch line, so that we can bring more volume in, all the way from Broadway, all the way to Bell Circle, and then Harris Street, and that creates the loop. And then, at that point in time, I can bring all the water water we want into this neighborhood. It'll be, pretty much unlimited. And, these firefighters will certainly have all the abilities, all the water that they need to fight a fire. So this is the neighborhood. We're here. This is Beach, right here. So these are all the streets. These are all the streets. These are all the water mains that we're going to be. Here's Beach. This is what we're going to do the following year. We're going to come from Broadway all the way to Bell Circle. These are all the streets that they tally up to over 11,000 feet, over 2 miles. This here is another mile with Harris. And then we have some alternate streets. We also have some real kind of emergency streets that we need to address. We have High Street that has very tuberculated pipe because there's no redundancy. We have Geneva Street that's just kind of broke twice in the last 3 months. We have a neighborhood up on Mountain Ave area, Rand, Howard, Oxford, and McLeavy, where there's no water main. We're going to put a water main in there that will connect Park Ave to Mountain Ave. Get that redundancy, get that water flowing around, and having a way to be able to, if something was to break someplace, at least we can feed it from a different area. So redundancy is really important. So we all know that, there's a lot of inconvenience with this. Roads are closed, there's definitely inconvenience, but everybody has to look at the bigger picture. It will all be in the rearview mirror at some point in time, but at least we know that we'll be able to have all the water we need, and any improvements to the drainage infrastructure, and eventually, because of the investment that National Grid's been making with replacing the gas mains, it's got to affect our gas, the gas rate, unless gas prices keep going up. But what would be the alternative? Gas prices keep going up and we still keep losing it through our cast iron pipes? Not an option. So next slide was basically the streets. These are the streets, 16 of them. It's not including the following year, which is Beach and Harris, which will finish the loop. And I don't think was there another slide after that? Okay, so this is basically what we do. So this is cast iron. The new pipe is ductile iron. It's cement lined. So now the new pipe won't do this. What this is it's not dirt. It's minerals. The minerals that we need for our body. So these minerals, it's just a catalyst that happens. It just attracts to the metal pipe. It's just like a magnet. These are the minerals that are in our water. It's the iron, it's the copper, it's the zinc, it's the stuff that we need to live. We all know that if you drank distilled water, we would perish because we need these minerals. So this is just, it looks nasty, but it's a fact of life. But the new pipe that we put in now is ductile iron, and it has a cement lining around it. So this doesn't happen. It can't attract to the metal. and it always stays clear and clean. So we do use other type of pipe in other areas where salt water is introduced into the groundwater, so close to the coast, we use a plastic pipe so that the metal pipe doesn't get attacked from the outside where we have those type of issues. But in this area, there are no salt water issues or brackish water issues, so we're going to use ductile iron, which is a better pipe, you know, a little more beefier, a little bit more robust. While after we're doing that, there's also drainage improvements. So our drainage system is what they call daisy chain. One catch basin is attached to another catch basin, another catch basin is attached to another catch basin. So one catch basin gets clogged, they all stop working. So what we're going to try to do is put in a drain main and then branches to all the catch basins so that they can all work independently of each other. And the other thing that I didn't bring a slide for, but it would have been very interesting. This area, probably about a quarter of Revere, all drains out into Greens Creek. So what it does is all these catch basins all come right around down, and they go through, actually cross through a lot of properties. They cross Harris, they cross the Parkway, they cross 1A, and right near where the Lee's Trailer Park is, right there, that's where it exits. It's a 54-inch outfall, and it's totally submerged. Submerged in water and submerged in silt. So the city of Revere actually was able to get permits this past year. We're actually going to start dredging the Greens Creek so that the water can actually flow out of here, and the water that's flowing in these streets and into our catch basins can actually exit quickly and get out. There's no head pressure or sediment that's holding it back. We haven't started that yet. We're waiting for Lee's Trailer Park to just get themselves organized so that we can have access and get in there and do some dredging. And our permit is good for 3 years. We will be starting next year. Open cut excavation, that's just basically what we're doing here, and that's basically, we have to remove the old pipe. We have to get that out of the ground. We do not leave abandoned pipes in the ground. So all the neighborhoods, we put on a bypass water, a water system. It'll be chlorinated, tested, and then you'll be getting your water. It's a proven practice that we do for all water main replacements. Open cut excavation, we go in and remove this pipe, and then where the old pipe was, we put in a new pipe and reattach everybody's services and replace any lead services while we find them or discover them. So what's going to be happening is, this is a little bit backwards, but the soil borings are what we'll be doing now. So we actually have an engineering company taking soil samples and taking soil levels to see what the material is here, what we're going to be excavating out of these trenches, where the soil, classify the soil to where it might have to go. If it's unsuitable, we don't put it back in the hole. We only put clean, the pipe gets bedded in sand, and only suitable material is put back into the trench. So really, that's what's going to happen down in this area, and it's these are some of the the hydraulic modeling. So what we do is we also have running a new hydraulic model. We do it every 10 years, and what we do is we see how the system works. It's like kind of like going to the doctor and see how your blood's flowing. So we do the same thing with the city. We just see how the water's flowing and where we lack volume and pressure, and how we can make improvements to the system. And so the focus for this administration has been infrastructure, like a lot of places in the country, but I think people have to realize how really important it is, what a big part of your everyday life is. Could you imagine if you go to your sink and you can't get water, or if you can't, your sewage doesn't work? Nobody thinks about it until it stops working, and then that's, I don't even know how anybody starts their day, but it's a little bit of pain in a you know, in a big investment, but, you know, but it would be worth, it would be serving us for decades, so. And that's about it.
May I say something?
Yeah.
Just kudos for you.
Oh, thank you.
When I first started, Wilson and Vinyl were, streets were flooded, plus Pearl too.
Mhm.
And I know some people are here from Pearl. So I called Donnie, and Donnie went down and he opened the manhole, jumped in the manhole, and he says, I know what's wrong. Why they're getting flooded? And I said, why? He took out 14 yards of rocks, debris, and they all came down from the hill, Reservoir Ave, and they were all stuck there. He cleaned it out. We haven't had a problem since. And Pearl Ave, he followed the pipe. Pearl Ave, the lower half of Pearl Ave near Short Beach, and you know they're inundated with the marsh and the ocean. He followed the pipe down to, it was a pipe that was all rocks covered that goes out into the ocean. I mean, that's not good either, but it drains into the ocean, and he cleaned it out, and now they're having less of a flood. So this is the guy. He's the guy. I'll tell you. He's I can't say enough about him. So he's,
I don't know about the guy,
best.
but we were given the tools, we were given the
I know,
manpower.
but he's the best. He
You know,
really
when
is.
we first came to the city, we had a Vector truck, and, you know, I use this analogy all the time, couldn't suck up a ping pong ball. And it should have been able to pull out those cobbles that were in that pipe. It should be able to pull out rocks this big and just suck them up into, you know, into the truck. But literally, our truck couldn't suck up a ping pong ball. And I was very discouraged, but, you know, $600,000 later, we got a new one. After that, we got a $400,000 Vector truck to clean the sewers. So it's the tools. You know, I don't know what you can do without the right
Well,
tools.
you can't operate tools without a person. So I just want to give you kudos.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's coming together. I know, you know, it's difficult. And you see those traffic, you see this, you see that. But you have to look at the city. You have to take, you know, like a 40,000 foot elevation view of the city and say, you know what, it's starting to look good here. It's starting to look good here. We try to spread it around to all the corners of the city. And eventually, this quilt is going to come together, and it's going to look like, you know, something really nice. Start observing, you know, like the way it is now, where you don't see proper sidewalks with granite curbs. You know, if a vehicle travels down the road and it was to veer off, if somebody walking on the side without that curb, to put that 6-inch reveal of that granite curb to protect them, you know, a car can go anywhere. And that's a lot of this, unfortunately, a lot of sidewalks. We want them put there. We want the ordinances, concrete sidewalks, granite curb. That's what we're doing. So, you know, little by little, it's gonna get there, but it's a lot of pain, and we understand it. So, just pass the word.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie. Great thing about Donnie is he always has really cool show and tell pieces, right? So I mentioned the Squire Road conversation that we had with the Urban Land Institute, and he was talking about, of course, the infrastructure underneath, right? I'm worried about what's up and what people see and what's above ground. And Donnie said, wait, time out, before we do anything, we need to be worried about what's underground. And he took a minute, like stepped out for a second, and came back with a piece of pipe that was, it looked like Swiss cheese, quite frankly. And he said, I pulled this out of Squire Road, you know, everyone needs to be thinking about this before we think about it, what anything looks like above ground. So definitely tremendous work that him and his team have done. So thanks, Donnie. I guess we'll just open it up to questions if folks have them. And I know we have some kind of prior questions that came in, but happy to open up the conversation.
So, John, thank you, and I laugh because I've had the privilege of seeing some of those photos when you come to our rescue several times. So thank you for educating us, and I'm grateful you've done that. You've had that same tone and demeanor and attitude when you come to help us. When you replace the water supply, will drainage be corrected at the same time?
Yes,
Awesome.
yeah, not concurrently, but right after, so we can only focus on one thing at a time, and that's the water system. And then, so we need to, I mean, the water is the most critical, as far as like that is concerned. You know, it all depends on what's really critical. You know, I don't know how long I'll live without water, you know, but, you know, maybe drainage can just, but it will be addressed. So a lot of our drainage issues are conductivity issues. A lot of them are basically clay pipes that are, like I said, daisy chained. They're either too small and what have you. I never realized how important it is wherever the water goes, whatever it drains, it has to be free. And Greens Creek, where this water goes, I could have brought a picture, I just didn't. So it's a 54-inch pipe, diameter pipe. You can't see it. It's gone. It's under the water. Under the water and on 11 feet of silt. That's how long. So the silt pile in front of the Greens Creek outfall is 600 feet long, 11 feet, and then it tapers off to like 0 in 600 feet. But that's all the stuff that came off the streets for years. We don't sweep the streets. The street sweeper doesn't come by. And then we don't clean the catch basins. That stuff all ends up in the oceans and in our waterways. So that's where it ended up all these years. We went there. Now our job is to go clean it up. We have 5 major ditches in the city. We've already cleaned one. We've cleaned Eastern County ditch for $1.4 million. Greens Creek.
But just to
developed.
clarify,
Yeah.
we didn't pay for it.
Right.
That was part of and this is what gets lost a lot of times with people and development, is that we were able to clean Eastern County ditch because of the redevelopment of Ocean Ave, and so that was a cost paid for by the developer to the tune of $1.4 million, where that, you know, alleviated a lot of the flooding issues that we would see on the lower end of Revere Street, you know, behind Billy T's and that kind of neighborhood, because the creek was flowing. And Donnie has these great pictures, and we have some drone photos and footage that Randy was able to put together of what it looked like, almost like before and after, and it's just to see it flowing the way that it should, which it hadn't for 50 years or so. It's really amazing.
But people were getting flooded in that area. They don't get flooded anymore because there's a way for water to go. So it was interesting enough about Eastern County Ditch when we cleaned it. There's so many culverts. It's funny. It's like, you know, the Revere is so old, and it's like you're going back at the time and you go into these underground culverts. It's amazing. All granite. I mean, there's one that goes across Broadway. You know, that was there back from the 1700s. Granite, and it's all underground, and you can walk it. And the one down on East, that goes into Revere Street, that's part of Eastern County Ditch. When we dug down, you got this layer of dark tar-like sediment, which all got disposed of into, you know, properly, removed properly. But underneath was 3 feet, 4 feet of beautiful white sand. Like, where did this come from? It's Storm 78. When we had that big flood, everything washed into it, and so the box culvert was about 6 feet in height, and there was 4 feet of sand in it. So there was 2 foot of freeboard. That was it. That was all. Now it's back to 6 feet deep, and that's all just water flowing in and out, you know, unfettered. So it's kind of neat, kind of interesting.
But I think long story short, cleaning Green Creek will go a long way for this neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, I really should have did a presentation on that because it really does affect this neighborhood. I didn't think of it, but you know, like a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it's just amazing how much sediment is in Greens Creek that will be removed, and then water will there will be no water. It'll be gone, and then, you know, rain comes in, it just, you know, just go back out. But the infrastructure does, you know, needs to be improved. A lot of it's just, you know, it was added to over the years. There was really no master plan for it, and it needs some attention.
And the abutters that are up behind Greens Creek that needs to be addressed too, because they're the biggest polluters. They throw the tires in there.
Shopping carts,
Shopping
tires, yeah,
carts,
yeah.
there's oil in there. So they really need to be addressed and fined. I think the last time was like 4 years ago we did that. So,
Mike, I remember Mike going out there with you.
oh my
and
God,
doing that.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are the biggest polluters, so.
So, for anybody that doesn't know who I am, my name is Kathleen Heiser, and I'm the president of the Beachmont Improvement Committee. And so I'm representing our group, and we have a lot of concerns. I don't want to belabor it, but a lot of our concerns have to do with traffic. And we were wondering, is there any chance, and maybe even here, I don't know if somebody from the Traffic Commission is here, somehow that we could talk to somebody and address some of the problems, but I'll just highlight a couple of things. For one thing, there's a lack of enforcement of the right turn only signs, and especially at the eastbound entrance to Tomasello Drive, and it's a major problem for people. Drivers who do not obey the right turn only lane create traffic hazards for the cars that do obey, and subsequently need to merge into the right-hand lane. So there's a lot of little fender benders happening over there and stuff like that, a lot of anger, and dangerous for both pedestrians and cars.
May I say something? There is a bump out there, and it has been a havoc for people, because what happens is the middle lane gets clogged and people can't go around there. That's gonna be removed by HYM, so I just wanted you to know that. And one of the things that is on there too is the Meridian in Beachmont Square. That's also gonna be addressed by HYM. They're gonna extend it down to the barber
Well,
shop.
we realize that those things have been in the works and been talked about a long time, but I
Right.
really want to highlight
Go
that.
ahead. Well, it was on your
everybody here-
list, so I just wanted to address that.
Right, because we've been promised that for a few years. And
Yes.
I'm not angry about it, but I'm thinking that it's really something that has to be addressed. And I want you all to know what we're talking about, in case you want to join the BIC and be part of us.
But
Yes.
just, follow up with Joanne, and, I know that's all gonna come, but, couldn't something be put up there, we have those temporary
The
dividers,
sticks,
so that, I see them in Chelsea, where the Russo's Touch used to be,
right.
just to prevent people, it sounds like a really quick, easy fix, it could be put up there and then taken down when the big job gets done, but in the
Right.
meantime,
I have a meeting with Tom O'Brien coming up to address the Meridian, just the Meridian, because I want him to show that he's a good neighbor. We've been talking about this for 5 years now.
But Joanne,
Yes.
some people may not know what we're even talking about. And we're
Okay.
talking about
So-
making a left-hand turn when you're coming out of the parking lot at the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes,
And people are doing that and pulling out, and there's no way that you can do that safely. They shouldn't be doing it at all. And this Meridian that Mary is talking about, median, would extend the median down.
yeah.
And so we have seen a lot of those cones, the skinny ones even,
yeah,
that it seems like if a few of those were placed along there, that we could get it now rather than later.
okay. I will suggest that.
We know that
Because
something
we
is
are
coming.
having a meeting about the Meridian strip,
Okay.
so.
So, that's another area of, can I keep going?
Yeah,
Anybody?
please do,
Okay.
yeah.
If I'm overstepping myself, just please speak up, because I will back away immediately. The residents would like to see a no turn on red sign placed at the pedestrian crossing at the T station in Beachmont. From the right side of State Road, pedestrians are constantly endangered by drivers who do not stop for the red light and make the right turn at that location. And I know at least one person here is a frequent walker, and that's Nancy. And Nancy deals with this all the time. The lights, the arrow changes for them to be able to walk. And then cars feel that they have the right to make that right-hand turn, and people are in the crosswalk. Nancy, do you want to say anything? Did I say it?
There is an arrow for that, there is an arrow, and they should obey the arrow.
Well, then there's no enforcement, that's the problem.
Okay, and the other thing is too, is the reason why that was put there is because we were trying to get free flowing lanes to get the traffic out of there. So when people are stopped there, it stops the whole traffic flow. So that's why we put a light there so people could take it. But listen, we're having all kinds of problems. People are plowing through red lights and down in Beachmont School, and we're trying to address that. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just not your street. It is
No, we're not arguing
everywhere.
that,
No, I'm
Joanne,
just
at
saying.
all. We
No,
know
I'm
that
not-
it's everywhere.
I'm not being argumentative. I'm
And
just
it's
saying.
people that don't follow the rules, because just
Right.
because you have a red arrow doesn't mean that you have to make that turn. And people honk that they
Well,
want to
there's
turn,
no
or they go
signage.
around it, and they don't listen to the people that are walking across the crosswalk, and that's the main thing. Because we want to keep the pedestrians safe. We have a lot of people crossing there, kids, adults, handicapped people, everybody coming off the T.
Mhm.
They need a way to get across that
Safely.
section
Right.
safely. And I think that one of the problems that we in the Beachfront Improvement Committee have been witnessing and complaining about a bit is that we don't feel that there's a lot of enforcement. Like, we feel like if people got a few tickets here and there, they might not do some of the stuff that they do. But because there's nothing ever happens, why not? And when they zip around that corner, somebody around the corner might be starting to just cross, and they don't even stop. They just, so that's, okay, so, all right? Okay. So we need more stop signs, policing, and other methods of slowing traffic on streets with east-west traffic crossing Beachfront. We're experiencing increasing numbers of drivers who are driving at high rates of speed, particularly on Crescent and Winthrop Avenues, that are heavily traveled by school children daily. So if you're not familiar with the area, people are coming from Winthrop through, and and they don't even slow down. We've had other suggestions. We're not experts. We don't know. We're just throwing out maybe some kind of a little speed bump or some kind of, I don't know what we want.
Table.
Donnie, how many speed
14,
tables you
I
got?
Speed
We got 14.
So we did, yeah, I don't know if, Kathleen, if you've seen the speed table on Cushman Ave.
Yeah, I have.
It was a
There were
lightning
little
rod,
tomatoes.
it was a lightning rod of a lot of conversation. I think we figured it out, right? We tried it, it was kind of a pilot, we wanted to see how it works. I think we got it down, but subsequently, the city council asked for like 14 more.
14.
So I've talked to Donnie, this is another idea from Donnie, another initiative from Donnie, but we will be doing more of those. I think that they generally do serve a purpose, and it's just about proper communication, proper signage, making sure that everyone understands that they can't go 50 miles an hour and they're gonna lose a bumper if they do that.
Those flashing speed lights.
Yeah.
seem
Right,
to-
right.
So I just want to tell you, I put in for, I think 2 or 3 of them, and one was for Winthrop Ave and one was Crescent Ave.
Right.
And I've also put in for a speed light to come up on Crescent Ave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
And those are not, they're not like a really huge money. I think that one was like 15,000 or 20,000. So they're not like, it's not a budget buster, but we may not be able to do 14 in 1 year, but we can definitely do a couple a year. And Beachmont definitely is a place where we try to kind of focus our attention. And just one other thing on Donnelly Square and just Beachmont Square in general, we have to look at the whole thing, and just kind of really take a good look at redesigning the entire flow of all of it, because it was, as Donnie talks about, like the pipes that were built for a city, 30, 40, 100 years ago, that intersection was not built for the type of the growth that the city's seen and
Right.
the way that the city is right now. So definitely, I feel like from the Parkway, Winthrop Ave, from the Parkway into Donnelly Square and then out, it has to be reimagined in some way and
Well, we've been very
a
fortunate.
holistic, like kind of a,
Because that goes hand in hand with HYM.
right, oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so we've gone to their meetings and stuff like
Yes.
that. They have presented ideas of how they can make it a little
Yeah,
bit better.
but now we're at the point where the rubber meets the road,
That's
right?
exactly right.
You know, and
Exactly.
so,
That's right.
That's
And
enough.
we haven't been as fortunate as in the past where we had a lot of conversations with HYM because now they're busy with their project and they're building and building and they haven't had public meetings, so
We will have, I've asked them to have public meetings, but what happened was we were supposed to have a public meeting and they had that unfortunate situation at Government Center.
Oh, yeah.
And that was
She-
supposed to be when we were having so he couldn't do it because he was in all kinds of, so. But we will have a meeting, but nothing's happened yet,
Well, Joanne, what I'm thinking and I'm saying these things is that it is so important for your constituents to know what's in the works. I thought what Donnie presented was absolutely wonderful.
Right.
Because we collectively complain about our taxes, et cetera, and this kind of thing, and they're ripping up all the streets and what's going on and water, but who knew that the pipes were filled with minerals? And it's not something that people know. We need to know that. That should be, and it maybe is, on public TV, maybe, yeah, hello.
shout out to Revere TV.
People need to know that. That's the reason, and we've got to fix these things.
I mean, Donnie could take a little TV camera and go down when he's down in the ground, and it could be right all over public TV and show the people exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, that's
I
a
love
good
it.
idea.
That's a good
A
idea.
day with TPW.
You won't believe it.
Yeah,
You
GoPro.
won't even know it's amazing.
Bob, can you do reality TV?
Absolutely, I go right down there, and we talk about it. I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're also concerned about the DOT project that we got the flyer for, because it said that they were gonna do studies in spring and summer of 2022, and that they finished it and are implementing it in July of 2022. And this is November of 2022. So what's the story?
Yeah.
Are they doing it, or did they?
Was it Mass DOT?
So it's Mass DOT, but so Joanne put a motion in this week, I think,
Yes.
for the city council. I talked to our reps. Nobody knows anything about it.
So it's been very hush-hush. No one's been brought to the table. I got a call about a month ago. I got an email saying, will you please call me? And I called, I don't even know who it was. But I had no idea this was taking place. And what we're talking about is Bennington Street. And Bennington Street is 4 lanes. And what the Mass DOT wants to do, what we're doing in Massachusetts, we were just talking about that today, is they want to narrow the 4 lanes down to 2 and put bike lanes. Now, I understand we need to keep our bikers safe, but how many bikers are really using this road? If they do this, there will be a massive tie-up on Bennington Street. And not only that, what concerns me is it's the evacuation artery to get out of Beachmont.
I agree.
So if that happens, what's going to happen to the people in Beachmont? Or the people down in, Ocean Ave? If there's an emergency, God forbid. But that's only the only access, and if they narrow it down to 1 lane, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
so my motion is to bring everybody to the table and to talk about this, because it hasn't been talked about. They're just doing it, and I think it'd be catastrophic to just the neighborhood itself,
Yeah.
so.
And the little bit of, after seeing Joanne's motion, when I talked to our state delegation, it sounded like, and I don't know if you know this, we haven't talked about it yet, but it sounded like the project that MassDOT was talking about was between Orient Heights and
I think it's
Wood
gonna,
Island, was it Wood Island? Right, so, I know that has implications for us. When we say Bennington Street, I don't think they're talking about like Donnelly Square.
I thought,
Or
My-
is your impression that it would go all the way up?
to.
Okay, because I thought it was, when I read it, it was just Wood Island and Orient Heights.
I included a link
Okay.
that you can get that flyer with that information if anybody wants to.
What is the scope of the, did it say?
I don't have the map with me, but
Okay.
they have them.
Pretty extensive. They want to do 1A and they also want to do Squire Road. It's going to be quite extensive.
Forget about Squire Road.
I
I
mean,
think we
my
were,
concern, not to interrupt you, you're going to put the bike lane right on the street. I mean, right on Revere Beach Parkway. We just had almost a whole family biked out.
I think we already talked about Squire Road, and I think they presented it, or it was brought up, and we said no. So, I think, wasn't that,
The bikers have no
you don't
protection at
remember
all.
that? Okay.
And one of the things, I think you said how many bikers are there, and I think that it's not safe right now. So that it is an area, something that we have to discuss, because there are a lot of people that would like to use their bikes and find a way that could be safe. So I'm not saying that I'm approving or in sync with this, but I think that we have to consider that.
Yeah.
And actually, I do think that HYM has considered that quite a bit, the bicycles, because if I remember right, when they spoke to us, they had berms that they would raise sidewalks for walking, and then some trees, and then another sidewalk for biking. So through that area.
Right, in their
property.
development, yeah, in their
But
development, they were
maybe something like
talking about,
that could be even extended out.
Out, right.
So, like, maybe that could be the
Yeah.
pilot for it. Want more?
Yeah. Keep them coming.
I'm really sorry, does anybody else want to say something before I go on? Okay. So, I already asked about the Dunkin' Donuts turn. That's only part of the solution, we know that. Is there a way that the traffic lights can be better synced? So that as we go, especially Everard and Dunlin Square, it's difficult. We have a real congestion problem there because we have the Beachmont Elementary School. Kids are walking there, they're crossing across Bennington. There's so much traffic there, and so if the lights turn, I don't know, I'm not the one that can tell you how to do this, so this is your problem. So we got it.
We just had a meeting, the
Yeah.
two of us, and we talked about this, and it's also been talked to with the reps. So what's happening is, that light is always green until someone hits it. And what happens is, it's just like when you ride down the beach. Sometimes you don't look at the water. So a lot of people don't pay attention to the lights because it's always green until kids. So we've had a couple of almost situations down there where kids were crossing the street while the crossing guard was there, and people were flying through the red light. So before anything happens, we are addressing that, and we are talking to the representatives, and we're trying to get more signage down there and lights and whatever we can. But to your question is, with HYM, we are trying to sync the lights so we can halt the lights, make it more red where Beachmont school is, and then have the flow come out of Beachmont from Crescent Ave, go through, and then take the lights and put them green. So it's just, like soldiers, one after another. So there is talk about syncing the lights to make it free flow.
Thank you for addressing that. So, here's the next one. A lot of cars now are coming through the square, especially on the weekends with the tunnel closed. And they use Beachmont as a cut through to get to Chelsea and the Coburn Bridge. I know we spoke to Jeff Turco, Representative Turco, did get the sign that was set up by mistake that indicated that you should go through Beachmont to get there.
Yep.
That's gone now, that's good. But the traffic's really bad, and are there any solutions that might be presented?
I guess if I had them, we would already be implementing them, right? What I'm taking away is from all of this around the traffic we have through Donnelly, around and through Beachmont, is that we really press HYM, and we engage with our own traffic experts to dig in and figure out what we need to do around light cycles and all of it, look at, like, and now knowing that we have a peak with weekend traffic, we don't have a
The
silver bullet.
flyover that you
right?
have, that goes over by the Stay Bridge and all those buildings there, that really seems to help a lot, because cars don't have to come into the
Yeah,
square.
yeah.
They can fly right over it
Right.
and then be out on that highway. So I don't know if that's something that, a seed to plant in your mind as
Yeah.
as a possible solution. I don't know where those roads would be, but.
We could also make our traffic signs more intelligent. Verizon is doing that with sensors in the ground and using artificial intelligence to adaptively change the lights so depending on what the traffic needs is. And that might be a real solution for us.
Wonderful. So that leads me to my next question, or suggestion, or whatever these are, that could we possibly highlight or paint the crosswalks with some kind of illuminating lights or some kind of paint? I know that I don't need to go on to, many of the communities do have painted crosswalks. And sometimes when you're driving, this happens to me, and I hope the cops are here, but I've been driving down the street, and I don't see the stop sign because there's cars parked there, If there was a
The line,
painted
yeah.
crosswalk, I would slow down. I don't want to hurt
I
anybody,
think
so.
this was brought up at a previous meeting and Ralph Chico was concerned about.
I did bring it up in front of the city council once, and he
Remember
said that this is his answer. Some people are colorblind and they wouldn't be able to see it.
Because in Saugus said red.
Now, I know, but you know what? Most of us aren't colorblind, and I really appreciate people that have disabilities, but I think that maybe the flashing sensor lights or something,
But,
something
yeah,
has to be
there-
done.
there is paint, and we've used it, I think we've
It has
used it,
reflective material. in it.
reflective material
So
paint.
the height, the lights of your own vehicle light up.
Kind of
the-
Right.
light up the
Yeah.
crosswalk,
Yeah, the other thing they have in other towns I've seen is they have a pedestrian sign, and when the pedestrians are going across, they press it, so it flashes.
Flashes, yeah.
So you know that someone's gonna cross the street.
Right.
Like she says, a lot of times you can't see if there's a parked car
Yeah.
there. And that would.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think-
we've talked about the flashing.
So there are flash, in some communities, they have the flashing lights that are actually embedded into the asphalt, and they're actually run by solar, and they just strobe, they actually just blink.
But this is actually like a sign. It's a
Oh,
pedestrian crossing
yeah,
sign,
the-
and it.
yeah.
It's
press
in
a button and
Winthrop,
it
it's
flashes.
in Winthrop.
You know,
Yeah, they're involved in
I
it.
have to say, I hear all these ideas, and believe me, it's not like we haven't thought of them. The thing is that, that you can only do so much, like, at one time, like, if I had a magic wand, I'd make everything right, or, better. But we didn't start, like, and it's not an excuse, believe me, one good thing done is worth a million excuses. But we're starting, we have to start someplace, and we're starting, and a lot of times we start in places where people don't see the benefits, and that's under the ground. There are so many things that we can do. We know them, and we only have so much resources, whether it be people or whether it be money. So, I know, and it becomes very frustrating. Everything you see, you want better. And,
Well, we really
I,
appreciate
there's a
all
saying,
that you do.
I have
We
a
do.
saying that I use, you can plunk me any place in Revere, and I can walk 20 feet in any direction and find a problem. 20 feet, I can walk and find a problem.
I drove with him for 2 days this week. I can confirm that.
But to Donnie's point a little bit is, we look at the, like the idea of the speed table, right? And that is something that we had talked about for a while. We finally got to the point where we were able to kind of pull it together. When we pulled it together, it was a little clumsy, right? And it was, it ended up, like, and you learn from it, and you say, okay, we did that, and now we're gonna do a whole bunch more. We had enough success with it that the city council was like, hey, we want, every ward council said they wanted 2 of them, so, which is great. I guess the point is that it's a process, right? And so we're always trying to build a better mousetrap. That's what I try to tell people. We're always building a better mousetrap. So as we get ideas, you know, like the reflective
It doesn't
crosswalks,
go- we've
like
used
we've
it.
used them, but then what we found is like we've used them
Doesn't
and,
wear.
and they wear like really quickly, right? And so we might do it in a neighborhood and realize this wasn't really as great as we thought it was. We haven't done the colored crosswalks though, and or the signage, like those like bright, those high vis, you know, flashing signs. Those are great.
Yeah.
Once we get, and I can guarantee you, we get one of them,
We'll do it.
we'll need 25 more because of Joanne and her colleagues. But we'll like that's something that we'll try to do at some point.
Just remember, there's two things. There's a speed table and then there's a raised crosswalk. They're totally different.
Right,
They do the same thing, but the raised crosswalk is for pedestrians. The speed table is a midpoint of a raceway, of a straightaway. And that's not intended for people to cross, it's just to slow people down.
I think that a lot of the things that have been put in place are really helpful, and I'm so appreciative of this forum because these are questions and concerns that the people told me. So I wrote them down,
Yeah,
and I think that communication is so important, that we can put things on a list, we can take them off. There are things that as nonprofit groups, we might be able to help in some areas, to do certain things. People are ready to get out there and pull up our sleeves. I mean, I'll say one thing in support of my group. I have lots of things to say in support of them, but a couple of weeks ago, we planted 1,000 tulip bulbs down on the area of the land between Leverett and Endicott Avenue. And we planted them in other places, and we were not wanting to blast our area with color to make it beautiful, so when people come through, they know we care. Because some people we feel some people might look down their nose at us, and we don't want to be looked down anybody's nose. So I will continue, we have other people,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I just want to, piggyback, on what you've been saying, and we do have to wait, and, things can only be started at a certain time, and I get all that, but I think enforcement can start tomorrow. And it generates revenue. I mean, I've said this to you before, you just give me a book, just give me a ticket book. You don't have to pay me. I'll just ride around and I'll be like, I'll get you all the money you need, And I think that's really the starting point. I see it. I mean, just driving here. I mean, we have this thing between us. We're like, we gotta be out by 10, we gotta be back by 2, because after that, it's crazy. It's like the wild, wild west, getting from point A to point B, in the city and beyond. And along those lines, I don't know if there's anyone here from the police department, but maybe you can answer this question for me, and if this doesn't annoy anybody else, then I'll be quiet. What about all those motorized scooters and bicycles that are on the roads with no helmets, no lights? I don't know if they're licensed, I don't know if they're registered, I don't know if they carry insurance, but they are just like, it's like the wild, wild west with those young people out there on it. It's so dangerous. And to top it all off, they all have earbuds in. So they think they're riding on a track with no other people. It's crazy. So I would really like to get that question answered. Are they registered? Are they insured? Are they legal? Should they wear helmets? Why don't they have lights? I mean, they're everywhere.
Not to interrupt, but isn't there a city ordinance against them?
I think there is, yeah. I think actually state law doesn't allow for them.
They're up and down Broadway.
Yeah, I know, I've talked to my colleagues about this, all over other mayors, who are all kind of dealing with the same issue. We actually, pretty recently had a young person, killed on one. No helmet, or maybe a bike helmet or something like that. but they're not insured, they're not, no, they're none of the above, and I know it's something that, the chief and, has talked to other chiefs about, like, cause they're all over the place. It's a issue of enforcement, right, in trying to, pull them over or deal with them. I know, I've talked to the chief about this, there have been people who have gone off on high-speed chases, and their, kind of SOP is to not chase, right? Like,
Right.
if somebody's gonna speed off,
Yeah,
they're not gonna, put other lives in danger.
right.
But the folks on those are absolutely reckless.
And
Yeah,
so what is the
so-
consequence? So, I mean, are they confiscated when they're stopped? And if there's an ordinance that says they're illegal and not to be on the street, why isn't it end of story, this bike comes with us?
Right.
And then lo and behold, that'll be an example for people.
Right.
I don't know if there's an ordinance on, the scooters, but I know there's an ordinance on those cars. The low riders cars with the mufflers, you never heard them go up the street? I know there's a noise
yeah, yeah.
ordinance with the
Yeah,
It
yeah.
only can be a certain decibel,
Yeah.
and it's way out of control.
But there's also one about the scooters.
Oh, there is
There is?
one? Okay.
So what is it, Ed? They're illegal?
They're not permitted on the roads at all.
They're not permitted on the road? Interesting.
It's just unenforced. Some of the police officers I talked to say they're worried about racial profiling, which is a big thing. But the Massachusetts State Police had that problem with the alcohol stops. So they formed legislation so that the ACLU and everybody else would be happy. We could do the same thing. We could craft legislation to make everybody happy, and then we'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
Or else just rewrite the ordinance to make it modern. Or just get rid of it all.
I think in defense of people, it's expensive to have a car. It's expensive to live here. I get it. They're using it as a means of transportation a lot of times, to get to a job. But there's got to be, a safer solution.
And just to clarify, so are you talking about the scooters,
Yeah.
like the handheld scooter, or
Yeah.
like the
Yes.
little? They're like the little mini bikes that I see.
No,
Those are
the
that,
scooters that you,
like
that you
scooter,
stand
like
on.
the
If you
bird,
stand
like
up,
they're
you
bird.
stand
They
up.
call bird scooters.
I don't
Like
know.
electric. It's like a razor scooter.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
With a little engine.
I
Yeah.
think the
Oh,
only
yeah.
permitted are mopeds, and that's it.
Right.
And there's two classes of mopeds, I think. It depends upon how fast
But
they
I
go.
think they have to be registered.
It
I
depends
think they
upon
have-
how fast they go. If one goes
Oh,
slow,
okay.
then.
They
40
they
miles
don't
an hour.
because you can buy them at like Walmart, and if they go they're under a certain horsepower, and they go under a certain mile per hour, they're legal. I know that, and I do know that the state is looking at how to deal with those from an insurance standpoint, how to deal with them, because in all fairness and full transparency, we were actually looking to partner with one of the companies that makes them, to have them on the beach as like a last mile connectivity, kind of a fun thing to be able to do on the
Sure.
beach, right? And we didn't end up doing that, mostly because it's not really legal yet, right? Like, there's like some questions around the legality of them. And the state hadn't figured out the insurance piece yet, so. But I think they're gonna become a more common form of transportation.
Absolutely.
So we should be thinking about that.
Well,
Maybe
I
it's time
just
to
wanted
revisit
to
the
know, so.
ordinance.
Right.
Maybe some kind of publicity even through Revere TV or other avenues that say, we respect your right to drive your little scooter, but please remember that there are little children that dart out in the road, and you might not be able to see them in time to stop, and please respect the residents, because we have them up and down our street all the time, and they're loud and they're scary.
Yeah.
They really are scary. And we have a little 2-year-old that was across the street from us that used to dart out. She'd escape, and it was scary.
That's another issue.
But she's under control now, but I mean,
Yeah.
because she's older. But I mean, the thing is that, what she's really have to be careful. So,
Questions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, talk about the students, I have few people that I know, the students go until 60 miles per hour.
60?
40 and 60, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think those are allowed. I think it's like under third, like they can't
I know
go.
for sure, because I saw that,
Yeah.
they showed me, and they
Right.
go 60 miles and 40 miles.
and no insurance.
No insurance.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
we'll revisit that in council.
I have a question for Don.
Sure.
Before I start, is a speed table the thing that splits Cushman Ave from Sergeant Street? Is that a speed table?
So it runs just before Adam Street to from Broadway.
Yeah,
That's a
Yeah,
speed,
they-
that's a speed table.
I passed by that about a day after you installed it, and it really works.
Yeah.
I didn't know that my pickup truck could get that high off the ground, but, yeah.
I don't know if anyone could get
I think
that.
some people don't realize that the speed limit is 20 miles an hour.
No, it does, it cures you of
It
what
does.
been driving around
Yeah.
a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
I think we all have.
Well, and then when you carry your muffler home with you. It's a healthy reminder. I
And-
have a
and the-
question.
I had a student, when I was a teacher, who got killed there. He hit the telephone pole and passed. They were going like 80 miles an hour, so.
The culvert or the drainage that is behind the, what's it, behind the Esquire, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Where all this- So you
That's Green Street, yep.
so all of our properties, I'm right out front here.
Yep.
And when we can get water with a simple rain up to over my knee.
Yep.
And,
Yes.
folks here
Yep.
have seen, we've been
Yeah.
scanning it.
Yeah.
Now, you're saying it carries across the parkway, heads down into
Where it
that
goes,
culvert?
yeah.
Okay.
So-
Is that culvert directly related to the pumping station that DCR occupies
No,
on Bennington?
no. Eventually it gets out there. That pump station goes out to Bell Ave. But it has a long, where the Greens Creek is, or where the outfall, our 54-inch outfall goes, there's a long distance between that and that pump station in Bell Ave. It has no real effect on it. There's plenty of capacity in that marsh
Yeah.
or that area to hold all the stormwater that we can convey from this area. This area, if you notice, if you drive around, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a bowl.
Oh, we're 10 feet from
Yeah, so
Winthrop
you
on
have
one
Winthrop,
beach on the other.
yeah, and you have this beach out here, and you see that it just kind of,
Absolutely.
spontaneous. So water just actually, runs in there. So once it, so, the bigger problem that, that happened is that, a lot of things got paved. And there's not a lot of places for water to seep back into the ground. I mean, if you can imagine in Revere back, in the 60s and 70s, you had farms off of Sergeant Street, farms that grew produce commercially. You had greenhouses that grew flowers commercially off of Baldwin Street. And you had a lot of open area, and a lot of the rain that just happened just kind of soaked back to the ground. Now it replaces sheet flow. It hits impervious area and it just has to find its way. Well, it gets to a catch basin, which is all connected by daisy chain, so one's connected to the other. And then the pipes are connected, just like our water pipes, are small. They didn't need to handle a lot of water back in the 20s and the 30s because a lot of it was still open space. So now we're collecting a lot more water. So just like if you were in your tub, you have a drain, and you pull a plug, you think the water's just gonna disappear, well, it doesn't. Slowly goes down, because that drain is very small. It takes a while to be able to get out. Our pipes act the same way. It takes a long time for that water, so eventually the water subsides.
But it subsides in a really weird, odd manner in this neighborhood, and I'll tell you why. So, it's not every rainstorm. It could be a very weird rainstorm. It's normally something with a serious amount of rain in a short period of time. But otherwise, we can go, it's been 13 months since the last time we had a big
Yep.
flood. So what happens is, it fills, like you're saying, like a bowl, and then there are 6 basins around my house right on the corner. And it sits stagnant, and it goes all the way down to Javier's house, past it,
Right.
okay? And it sits stagnant, not moving, not flowing even a little bit. But then something mechanical turns on somewhere, because it empties like you can't believe. So it's not just carried off by gravity like you're explaining. Something else is moving that water, because those catch basins will work they look like toilets. They are flushing. So I've been standing in them when that occurs. So I found out about the pump station in Beachmont,
Yeah.
and there's
There's
no
there's no mechanical way, everything is still gravity, and there's no mechanical means for this water. Now, mind you, we have 30 pump stations in the city, 30, but not one of them's connected to this drainage. That all conveyed through gravity. But what happens is that once all these other branches, there's so many branches connected to the system, once those have left, now all of a sudden, this is like the last area that's queued up, and it's the last area to be able to exit.
But I
And
tell you, it sits stagnant and
It's
still
like in
with
front
no
of my
movement
house.
Yeah.
It's like in front of my house.
for maybe 30 minutes.
Well,
And it's almost like someone does something,
yeah.
and then you've got, it empties in 2 minutes and it's
Yeah,
full.
exactly. It's in front of
But
my
think of
house.
it, there's no mechanical pump that we're, I'm not holding some lever and saying, you know what, I'm holding back here. Let me, I'm not. So it's really just the size of the pipes.
And so
It's-
that
it's
pump house
unfor-
at DCR in Beachmont, what does that do?
In Beachmont,
Yep, it's controlled by
yeah,
the DCR.
so that actually handles the water that comes from Sales Creek, all that drainage, it comes from Sales Creek. That actually doesn't turn on. They don't use that. That actually works on gates that flap open and close. They will go down there during a storm event. So the last time that we had a storm over the winter time, they'll go in there and put a man in there.
And do what?
And actually be able to put those pumps on manually.
So there
because-
are pumps in there.
Oh, there are pumps in there. Oh, yeah. But it's only gonna evacuate the marsh area behind, near HYM, near Suffolk Downs, behind Greens Creek. But
So then,
but we have so much there's a lot of capacity, but Greens Creek, like I said, it's just not allowing the water to come out. Like I said, there's a 54-inch pipe, so this big around, but it's all covered with water. Now, that water stays there, doesn't move. And that's head pressure. It's holding everything back from this neighborhood back. And then after that, what we call it a plunge pool, because that's what it made, a plunge pool. Then goes this 11-foot pile of silt in Greens Creek. And then runs 600 feet and tapers off to 0.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what, now, I actually have it at City Hall. I was gonna bring it. It's a profile that we did of soil sampling. And we need to be able to take 3 feet off the top, 3 feet off the top, 3 feet off the top to lower that, so all the water can just escape on its own, or just move on its own, freely. But the pump station down there doesn't have any effect on that, only in an event of a storm. So, there are storms, so.
it doesn't rain in the sunshine.
No, hold on. So, you have to imagine one thing. So, normal rainfall for Massachusetts, you know what it is? 37 to 42 inches a year. You know what we got in 2018? 61.
Yeah, a lot of it was in our basements.
Right. 61 inches of rain. That's abnormal. And the other thing is that it happens so quickly. So it's so it's all the amount, how fast
That's
it
what I was
comes.
telling you, it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, 2 or 3 inches an hour is a flood. And so our city can't handle that. Most coastal towns can't handle that. It can if we improve the.
So but by turning on those pumps, will that alleviate
No,
those
there's no,
moments?
only during the type of storm I'm talking about is a tidal effect storm, not a rainstorm, a tidal effect storm. A tidal effect storm where we're actually getting tidal flooding. So when the water's coming back. So when you have ocean effect waves, when you have king high tides, when you have the wind pushing water against the coastline, those are the floods. That's what those pump stations are for. The ones down in Broad Sound, the ones down. Now, there are stations that we have, like I said, I have 30 pump stations. There's one down the Point of Pines. They're all connected to the catch basin. So all the catch basins is a big branch that runs through Point of Pines, from Pines Road to Rice Ave. It starts out at an 8-inch line, and it goes to a 12, then it goes to a 16, then it goes to a 20, it goes to a 24, eventually it goes to a 36. All the catch basins are connected. All the catch basins are connected. Starts at Pines Road all the way to Rice Ave. Then it hits a pump station, like you don't have, what we don't have here. And it hits a pump station. During a high tide, those pumps go on and it forces the water out. During the low tide, the water just escapes through a flapping door. It's a 48-inch stainless steel door that just opens up. There's so much head pressure coming out of there, the door just opens. All that water just leaves on a low tide.
What opens the door?
The head pressure, the water behind it, the water pushing it. Yeah, so the water leaving, so the main drain that runs from Rice Ave from Pines Road, there's hundreds of tons of water in those pipes when they're full, when they're surcharged. And that water is just pushing. That door, that stainless steel door that probably weighs about 600-700 pounds is nothing compared to the tons of water that's going to open that door. But when the ocean pushes that door this way, the force of the ocean, or all the water in the Atlantic Ocean, is much more pressure than the water that's in those streets.
So then the pump has to go on.
Then the pump has to go on
So
to evacuate.
at high tide, with the rain, we may need the pumps.
So you need a clean ditch, okay, Greens Creek. That's one of the issues down there. But once I have a clean ditch, there's plenty of capacity in that mark to handle all this water. But it's also, again, like I explained, the pipes. These pipes are so small, they're surcharged with water. And like I said, the drain, it just can't get out fast enough. It just can't get out fast enough. And there's so many issues, areas that are being, so Haddon Victoria, connected to yours, connected to here, right? Beach, connected to here. So that's higher, right? So that water's higher.
Yeah,
That water's,
You
right,
can see it grow.
right. That water's pushing more force than a catch basin in the back of this building, because it's lower, right? So it's all head pressure, and it's all trying to get out at the same time. It's coming from all different ways, So the only way to fix that is that trying to beat the amount of rain that's coming out of the sky in a period of time, and how fast you can convey it up. So, and don't kid yourself, at some point in time, if there's 4 inches an hour, I don't care how big the pipes are, we're gonna get flooded. And also the fact that we collect it in a bowl. Nobody's having that problem at the top of the hill, absolutely improvement. So part of this project, the water improvement project, is gonna be the drainage improvement. And we're not gonna pave roads until the drainage is fixed and Greens Creek is clean.
Beautiful.
So, it's just, like I said, there's so more. Now, could I wipe everything clean and start anew? Because the drainage system would be so complicated here, it's not gonna happen. Could we use a mechanical pipe a pump station to pump it out faster? I don't know, maybe. So maybe that's something we do. So like I said, it's all time. If a pump goes on, I have a pipe this big, but I'm forcing it out mechanically faster than it can just move on its own by gravity. Of course, it's going to benefit everybody. So, it's just one of those things that we will probably look at. But that's all part of this project, like I said, we know this area. I mean, I believe me, I stand in the water. I know you.
Yeah. You guys stood with us, I think it was about 13 months ago. Those guys hung in there all night long. I called actually your office and I thanked you personally.
So that was a pump.
They hung with
and
us.
we were trying to pump it out as faster than it was hitting the ground.
If it was impossible.
It was impossible.
I agree.
So, I don't know if it answered the question.
The speed bump is clear as day. Speed bump is clear as day.
I'd like to thank Donnie. Explanations. I wish the city would have someone that would address traffic, like he addresses infrastructure. We in Beachmont have been talked to, studied. Donnelly Square has been money allocated, 100,000 from the Beachmont One development. We're looking for simple crosswalks, lines, and people not taking the left out of Dunkin' Donuts. You can't even tell it's a school area. Kids are crossing those big trees, it looks real beautiful in the Crescent Ave where you can go to the left or go take a left onto Bennington. You take your life because you don't see a kid because you're blocked by beautiful evergreens. Cars parked right up to the crosswalk. You got to inch out and then take a left. So I don't understand, like, can't the city paint stuff and put cones out? Or is it because it's the state road, DCR road?
Definitely. Like I said, I have, HYM's been stalling because of Boston, and this whole, tragedy that they had in town. We have been sitting at the table for 5 years, and they have promised Beachmont a ton of stuff. And it's supposed to start when the first phase started. So we're already starting the first phase. So we are sitting down with him, and we are going to talk to him, because I did say to him, we need to have you be a good neighbor and show us some stuff that you promised us in Beachmont. So that's supposed to happen next week. So we'll see what happens.
Even the bus pulls up right to the station and takes a left.
So so I've been trying to get the buses off Winthrop Ave for the last 5 years.
Right.
Okay. HYM is committed to taking part of this sidewalk and making it a bus.
Where Beachmont was featured?
Yes, but the other side, the MBTA will not commit for a bus insert there. They just won't commit. What the biggest thing with the traffic is, if we had the buses off the street, then you'd have 3 lanes of free-flowing traffic that would get out. It wouldn't stall, because what happens is at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, when that bus is going west and it stops there, and there's 2 lanes of traffic coming in east to go into Beachmont, the traffic is stuck in back of that bus. And what happens is the light turns, and it's a free-for-all. It's crazy. So I've been trying to get those buses off the street now for 5 years. HYM did commit for their side, but the MBTA, we had a big thing, they won't commit to anything. And the one thing that I just want to tell you, and then I'm going to shut up, is that I proposed a road, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, out where Luigi's is, down that road to get out, another road to access out to Revere Beach Parkway. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's on the radar, so we'll see what happens.
You can join something?
Go ahead.
I just don't know why we can't get a small way. I'm sure we have the cones in the W, like cones to put where Dunkin' Donuts is. We can put them there tomorrow. We can put cones around where you take that right into.
You just can't put cones there. You have to put those sticks
Yeah,
that go
sticks.
into the ground. But people run over them, and it's just a quick fix. They run over them, they crack them. We had them where the bump out was. When we first had the bump out, we had 4 of them. They're gone. Because people went right over the bump out and just destroyed them. We need a solid piece of granite or whatever to continue that all the way down to the barber shop, so people cannot take. That's the biggest problems in Beachmont, is that left. People coming in from Crescent Ave, cutting through 4 lanes of traffic and going into Dunkin' Donuts, are coming out and taking the left or whatever it is.
And the other big problem we have is that crosswalk that goes in between. Every time I turn around, there's crosswalks in between traffic. There's one at Luigi's, there's one at Target. It goes in between.
That crosswalk was put in the wrong place.
Can we just take some spray paint and just
well,
I mean, these are quick
you're gonna
fix.
see-
If you allow me, I could do it.
you're gonna see major work in the next 2 years or 1 year, you're gonna see.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Especially when we're waiting so long to
I know.
fix these issues. We stood there with clipboards doing the traffic study.
I know.
And these are quick
And we're the
fix.
best
They
traffic
should be
study, we're the best people to do the traffic, not hire a traffic study as for $1 million. We're the best because we live there, we know the problems.
And we have, I mean, there's so many more cars on the road, and it's not other cities, it's us. It's all the Beachmont apartments, all the beach apartments, they're all coming to Beachmont, they're all going to Target, and I'm telling you, I've almost seen so many people get hit.
That's a
Running
big
for the
problem.
bus.
Thomas Owens is a big problem.
And it's an easy solve. We just eliminate that crosswalk and put it either further down or the other way. And the crosswalk that comes from the Beachmont Apartments, where you can take that where the bump out is and you can take that right, that crosswalk goes right through traffic too. It's too close to cars that when they're trying to make that right to go to the Beachmont, you can't see anybody walking. And they just need to be pushed out a little bit. It's not a heavy lift, I don't think.
Deb?
I'd like to ask the mayor, as several people have mentioned the safety issue at Dunkin' Donuts, and I know we've all talked about that for many years. Joanne, I appreciate you getting together with HYM, but I'd like to ask the mayor, do we not have an in-house group that can come down and just extend that island? Instead of waiting for HYM, I mean, it's just really a curb, it's just a curb, you need to extend it. Is that a possibility? We put curbs in other places, you've done, well, I don't want to go with a Jersey barrier. Bill just said a Jersey barrier, and that definitely would prevent anybody from taking that left. But I would rather see the city itself just come in and take the initiative and fix it, because it's not Dunkin' Donuts, it was Bennington Bagel that they were doing it with. So we're talking many years.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that the DPW?
Yeah, I mean, we can
could
take a
go
look
down-
at it. I don't know if there are any drawings or any engineering that's been done to kind of figure out what that looks like.
I think it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
Definitely, and it's the
And if the
biggest
city
problem.
could take care of it,
It's
would
a
you
state
take
road,
credit
it's
for
a state
something?
road.
Right.
Yeah, it's a state road. I mean, you know, there are suggestions we could make to them, and I mean, I don't know what the ramifications are. So, like, there are plastic Jersey barriers that we can fill with water, and for the winter time, we can fill it with a biodegradable antifreeze, so that the water just doesn't turn into a big block of ice. But, I mean, we have those. I mean, we have them, and they're safety orange, they're white, and but we just throw them out there without,
Are those
by the
those big
sea.
sand barrels? Is that what you're talking about?
No, they look like this.
They look like a Jersey barrier,
Oh,
but
okay.
they're hollow,
Yeah.
and they actually take water, really, so, and you add like a biodegradable, in case somebody was to hit it and fracture it, and was to leak, and it was to go into a catch basin, it's just basically like a vegetable oil. So it's biodegradable, and that would prevent it from freezing and turning into a solid block of ice.
Well, for the Beachmont people, would that be a good solution just for the moment?
Before you throw that out,
Yeah.
aesthetically, couldn't we use like the East Boston planters? That would be a little bit more aesthetically, but I do think the city could come in and basically just come out with the cutout and get it, extend the curb and take care of the issue. Instead of waiting again, it just seems like, we put in a temporary one and then we change something else and then we put a planter in. I mean, just come down, if the DPW can install a curbstone, we're all set.
It's not much. It's probably about 10 feet, not even, just to block off that, the parking lot.
Just an extension.
It's just an extension, yeah.
We'll take a look at it.
And in the middle is all, it's just a curving, and then it's, in the middle, it's just dirt and mulch.
Right.
Joanne, on the bus, about getting it off of Winthrop Ave, stop on State Road, because the bus occasionally parks on State Road when it is early. but it won't pick people up because it's not an official bus stop. But it, I mean, instead of having it on Winthrop Ave, would they change it to State Road?
That's the MBTA, and God bless, they don't do it. They, I'm telling you, it's just, it's like pulling teeth.
Sorry, just another suggestion.
So from State to, so I don't get where you are. Where are you?
On State before it
Before you
makes the
take a right to
turn.
Dawn.
Oh, right here, this one?
Like opposite Lynn's Cleaners,
Oh, okay.
along the
bus stop.
fence.
And where is it? It's, instead of up there.
Instead of on Winthrop Ave.
Yeah.
See, when they come
I'm just trying to get it, I'm trying to get some sort of a cutout so the bus can just pull in, pick up people and just.
So it's like where they stop when they do busing. When they do busing from like Beachmont to Government Center, when they don't do the trains, buses pull over on the side by State Road. They don't come on with their back.
Yeah.
Like opposite Brevities, opposite
Oh, okay.
Lynn's Cleaners.
Okay.
When they do busing, that's where they.
I mean, I could,
Make a bus stop on State
That
Road.
would be-
I haven't seen it.
that would help.
And they have stopped it when they had found early on their schedule.
Right.
It just, they will not allow people to board the bus until it goes to the proper stop.
Okay, that's an idea. We can, I mean, Dino DeFranco worked for the MBT, he was the one that got me the bus stop at Stop and Shop, so no one else could do it, so maybe he could do it. He's good like that, so I can ask. Sure. I have a guy. So.
Thank you for that wonderful bench down there.
Yes,
Stop and Shop.
but don't thank me, thank Dino.
Joanne, is there a way to get that bus to go all the way down to Target instead of just turning around there? Because that doesn't help people like the elderly and.
I understand that, but it took,
I know
what,
much
how
it
many
took.
years? 5 years for me to just get that bus stop, and they made that, I mean, I can certainly try.
I just see poor people just like walking and really old people, and it's like, my heart breaks, you know?
I think I can try. I mean, I am sitting down with Dino and Tom O'Brien, so I can certainly ask.
I know how to do for what you have.
Yeah, it was hard to get that bench. It was 3 years, so. But my biggest concern down there is the coyotes. We have people that are feeding the coyotes in the parking lot, and the coyotes are starting to come out. And what I'm afraid of is if you call environmental police, they'll come down and shoot them. So, but these stupid people, I put it on my Facebook page, these stupid people are feeding them and so they can take pictures. So, and it's a real problem. Someone just got a picture of 5 coyotes in the parking lot of Target.
HYM put up all kinds of signs.
Yeah, I asked them to, but they're not, it's not enough.
Have they been tested for rabies?
What, the coyotes?
If they can spread rabies.
I know, I don't think they're rabbit. If they were rabbit, I think they would come after the people.
Because I think they throw the pellets out that inhibit the
Oh,
virus.
maybe. I don't know, but if the environmental police came down, they'd shoot them.
Are they federally protected?
No.
Coyotes, no?
No.
I was wondering if they could, this is a little far-fetched, but could they give them birth control so we get less of them and move and relocate them?
Someone just asked me that, I don't know.
We talked about
We
that
talked
with
about
the
our
rats
rats.
last. Birth control's a big thing.
They do it with pigeons in New York.
We've done that for the pigeons.
That's because you were taking away all their land. We have mice problem, rat problem, taking away all their land by building. We should have, with the developers, we should have came up with a plan, put it in the plan. If you want to build here, we have to relocate these animals. Because you know I'm an animal person and I don't want to see anything happen to the coyotes. I know people shouldn't be feeding them, but we took away their food source, we took away their houses, we took away everything. That is not being friendly to the animals.
Those coyotes come down, so we had a teacher that was trapping them and that he was cuffing them to see where they were. It was Mr. Etoff, and he was doing this for about 5 years. And he came up with a plan that they're coming from Andover, and they're coming
Power
down by
lines.
the tracks.
Yeah.
And that's where they're coming back, but they're coming where there's a source, they're rodent eaters, they're rabbit eaters, they're coming down for the food source. And we do have, I hate to say this, but we do have a lot of marshland. And they can easily relocate in a good habitat. I think the reason why they're sticking around here is because we do have so many rodents. The food chain is great for them. That's why. But these stupid people, because they fear people, and these stupid people are coming out of Target and they're feeding them just so they can take a picture with them. So they're getting, once they get friendly, it's like an alligator. They'll come up to you and they'll bite you or whatever they'll do, you know? So people are stupid.
Now, Joanne,
And we gotta stop doing that.
did they move into McMacken? I heard they're in McMacken.
They're in McMacken too, but that's gonna be taken care of soon, so. I think we're gonna have the field room.
When are we getting into McMacken? McMacken?
Crew should be in there within the next couple weeks. He was finishing up a couple big jobs he had, and he had to, secure some heavy equipment to get in there.
So you'll see the grass
hopefully
cut.
within the next few weeks, vegetation will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Out of McMacken.
And are we gonna put up black netting over the fence? There was some question, somebody mentioned, the concern about people being able to go into the field, and if there was black netting, that might prevent somebody from actually being able to see them if there are people down there, so.
Yeah, there is homeless people down there, so.
Yeah.
That's what I've,
They live in the marsh behind there too.
yeah, they're living.
One came running out and yelled at people at the gas stations.
Well, we have a big homeless, you don't see them, but
They're all
we do
over.
have encampments all over the place.
Last night, a homeless person took away a new bike from someone and basically assaulted the person right here at 7-Eleven last night.
Yeah, well, we've got a big homeless, we've really got to do better with the homeless.
Can I piggyback on that, and then I'll really be quiet? Do we do any community outreach to the people that are panhandling, just not at the intersections, but at the stores outside of Market Basket, Burlington Coat Factory? Is there any community outreach that's done to these people?
So our substance use disorder and homelessness office does do outreach to folks that are, either experiencing homelessness or are out in the street. They do try to connect with folks, try to see where they're at, if there's anything that they can provide. Our Director of Board of Health also tries to make those connections, and with an eye towards providing care, if he can provide care for folks. So there's definitely, there's work that gets done around, the folks that are in the community that are experiencing homelessness.
I know that, with veterans, I've spoken to Mark Silvestri, and I've also spoken to Chris Alba.
Yes.
About, the concerns of a couple of people, but I'm mainly talking about like people that sit outside Market Basket. I see this same woman there, she's not homeless, so she wouldn't fall under like the SUDI office or the Veterans office or the, but she's panhandling.
Is she the one in the wheelchair?
She is.
Yeah, she lives at the Bank of America or ATM, and she has a friend that lives in the area too. He's been running up and down Spire, breaking windows and things like that.
Nice. I've actually, introduced myself to her and spoke to her, and but
It's a long-standing issue.
yeah, I don't think there's a city ordinance against panhandling. I'm not sure if there is, but maybe there should be, maybe there shouldn't be. That's not the point. It's just that I think it's really the problem is really growing.
Yes, it is.
At the lights, and you know, and you know, we see the same people down on the boulevard. I'm sure you see that same woman, you know, that lives down there by the bathhouse.
And they leave a mess,
Well,
you know. Isn't there a, don't they have to get a license if they're gonna panhandle?
Panhandling's against the law, but only the police can, arrest.
Oh.
By the time the police get involved, usually people.
And we have had, there was a group of, I don't know if you saw, young women who were panhandling along 16,
yeah.
Chelsea, like they
Yeah.
all,
Official
they all
shirts on.
actually looked the same, they kind of looked the same, like they had the
Sure,
same outfits on.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
It was a group, like a coordinated effort to panhandle in the city, and the chief had been connected with Everett and Chelsea because they were seeing the same folks, and they're not homeless. They were just trying to make a little bit of money.
Like the people with the violins.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was shown to be false. It was all a scam.
Yeah. He was making a ton of money.
They got a lot of money.
Yeah.
So like today, there was a guy
Yes.
sleeping at, I'm sorry.
On Thomasella Way, who does the snow plowing? Is that the city?
It is the
Do we-
city.
Do we
Yeah.
tell them so?
Yeah, Thomasella, we have Thomasella.
And do they do the bus turnaround?
I don't think so, but
Because,
MBTA should be doing that.
they put it on a snow route. So when they activate the snow route, like, won't do Beachmont Loop, they also won't do, stop at Thomasella Way. So that's why I was asking.
Okay.
So it's their responsibility to shovel the turnaround.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Which obviously they don't want to do.
Well, we'll try to address that too.
Oh, thank you.
I'll tell you, it's like, it really is, right? Now, if you got in there, it'd be a different
Yeah.
story. So,
I only have a couple more, can I?
I'm just.
Can I just say one?
No.
I'll go as quick as I can.
Yeah.
And you don't have to necessarily answer, I just want you to know these are concerns,
Yeah.
okay? So, a lot of people are concerned about the bump out on the Ryder, between the Ryder and the 10, is it Ocean Ave? Yeah, 10 Ocean Ave, because the road narrows down to one lane, and there's no striping there, so it's really
The
difficult.
striping got done.
It did?
Yeah,
get done?
yesterday.
Thank you.
And also, we put a sign, Jeff and I put a sign where the bump out is. It's a reflective sign.
Excellent.
So it's there, so when people come down, their headlights hit,
Thank
you'll
you.
see them.
That's a very big concern, because we were also concerned when snowplows would go, would they know the bump out was there, would they hit it, so on, so. People have been concerned about the traffic, the police and fire station being able to get out of their, across the street to get to where they're going for their fires, and that there's not an easy access or entrance.
There will be.
There will be.
Yeah, there will be. So HYM's gonna cut out a strip right across from the fire station, and that should be done soon.
Soon? Okay.
Yes, so they're gonna cut it out so the fire, right? Am I right?
Yes.
I should let you speak.
I would not make a prediction when it's gonna happen, but we've been talking
Well,
about it for a few
I
years.
should let you speak about that, not me.
HYM is supposed to be doing that as part of their project. They're supposed to be doing a cutout across from the Parkway Fire Station to allow the fire apparatus to pull out, and rather than come out, take a right, bang a U-turn at the light, or take a left onto North Shore Road, which is very difficult to do. There's a lot of traffic out there a lot of times. This will allow us safely to pull out and make a left or right, and just have easy access in and out of the fire station.
Chris, would it help if we put like, an emergency light up there so we can stop the traffic?
Of course, I've asked for signage,
Okay,
lights,
all right.
all the above.
No, I mean, when they do the cutout.
Yeah,
So you
yes,
guys
I've asked
can,
for-
we can
I mean,
stop the traffic.
Again, that's what we're requesting, I mean, I hope
mean, I
that's
have-
what's done.
So is there something that if the alarm goes off, and you guys have to go, there would be a light before you exit, so it would stop the traffic there?
Yes.
And that way, It would be?
They do, they have it at Central Fire Station.
I don't see how it would work otherwise, that's what we've requested. I mean,
Right.
we have the same problem at Freeman Street, right? There's a light before the fire station, before you get up to Revere Street, but it's not synced with
Right.
that light, so
Right.
it keeps blinking and the
But-
cars keep filling up in front of Freeman Street, so they can't get in and out of there.
What about Central? Don't you have a light there, right?
We do have a light there,
Yeah.
yeah. Central's a whole
Yeah.
another issue out there, yeah. Getting in and out of it, but yeah, it's a problem. It's not easy. We deal with it
Especially
all day, all night,
trying
every
to get
day,
out
you
to
know?
Beachmont for the firefighters. That's, especially if you're gonna have in the trailer park, 300 more apartments, and 300 more cars, and they're trying to get out to, I worry about you guys all the time trying to get out to, even go down the street to Beachmont.
Well, there's gonna be, one of the negotiations with the trailer park is a back road out to Lee Burbank Highway. So there's gonna be a second road. I mean, nothing's done in stone yet, but we are in negotiations of having a second road for people to get out of that area. And that's a big area, that's 5.5, it's about 5 acres, so,
Joanne, hey, interrupt this, has the trailer park been sold?
yes, it was sold a year ago.
Okay.
And they're, I don't know, they're slowly getting people out of there, so
It's been tough down there.
it's been very tough, yeah. 12% of the police activity is down there.
And there's several, I think there's 1, 2, maybe 3 sex offenders that live in there.
Yeah, well, eventually, I mean, they should have the property vacated by 2023. They gave them 2 years, so,
I
to
believe
find
there's
out.
only 17 occupied trailers left.
Yeah, there was 245 people living down there. There's 17, yeah, 17, I thought there were.
17 trailers.
Yeah, great, so,
It's always been a tough area.
excuse me?
It's always been a tough area.
It would be nice to have it cleaned up,
Yeah.
you know? It would really be nice, yeah.
And can I talk to you later about this, but I work with a woman that works for a rescue organization, Carol, and she's a friend, so she knows animal control here. And she's been down there collecting the cats that they left behind to get either adopted, trapped, neutered. They can't be released back yet, but she's working to do that. So I want to talk to you maybe
Sure.
sometime about
You
that.
have my number, call me.
Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And one last question. What are we going to do about Our Lady of Lourdes?
Great.
I guess I like that question because there is no answer.
No.
But, I mean, I've talked to Michael, you know, John Rangi had a telephone number, they're calling up. I mean, is it just going to sit there? Do we find them? I don't think anybody is living in the priest's house across the street. I don't see anyone coming in and out anymore. I mean, it's such an eyesore. And of course, there's an emotional attachment to that church too.
Have we fined it at all?
Yes.
I know we have.
Yes.
They pay their fines.
Yeah, they do.
Are we talking about the church or the rectory?
No, the church.
The church.
The church, we've been finding, yeah, when the stuff came off the church, we were finding them when there was garbage in there, overgrown grass. I go down there periodically and look at the parking lot and the church.
And how about the rectory? Do we know if that's occupied?
I know people were, there was
There
people
were.
living down in the rectory, down below the church. We
Yeah, I don't
solved
think,
that.
I don't think there's any, I don't think it's occupied. I don't know. if
No, I'm
anybody
talking
has-
about down in the church, we had,
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I know
but
that's-
now I moved over to the rectory. I don't think that's,
It couldn't be safe to live in
No,
that
it's
building
not
anyway
safe,
because it's
no.
full of mold
yeah,
and
it should be
asbestos
torn
and
down, I hate to say that.
lead
Unless-
and leaks.
Have you done any outreach to the property owners?
Can we get the property owner? Never. I
Yeah,
call,
there's
it
not
goes to a
really-
voicemail, and, because I've called a number of times before I gave the fines to Michael, so I could talk to them, because that's what I do, I try to outreach first before I give them the fines, and they never answer the phones.
Could it be condemned?
The rectory could be condemned, definitely, I don't know about the church,
Because
but
it's
the
not-
rectory is
it's not
full of
habitable.
mold.
But it's a historical building, I would think that.
Yeah, but it would take millions and millions and millions of dollars to clean that up.
Well, maybe the Affordable Trust Fund could buy it.
But it's owned by somebody, that's owned from somebody
Yeah,
totally
some
separate from the
Chinese
church.
family owns
It's an
it.
APR.
Privately owned.
And they,
Privately
Two
owned.
separate owners to the
Two separate,
church and,
yes.
Privately owned, the rectory is privately owned.
Just a couple more.
Can we tie this in?
The streets on the hill are narrow and there's parking on the sidewalks on both sides. And I think Chief Bright can address this. Traffic to take an emergency vehicle down there, it's almost impossible to get down those streets. You know where I mean?
Talk about Bellingham?
Bellingham.
Yeah.
Brad
That's
Street.
correct.
So we've had conversations, Donnie Chanella, myself and the mayor, to widen Bellingham Ave, to widen one side.
But temporarily, could maybe there be only one side of the street parking or something?
No,
Because
because
it's terrible.
you can't have one-sided parking because a lot of people don't have driveways. They're up on the hill. Where are they gonna go? So the thing is that, I mean, I talk to Chief Bright about this all the time. I asked the mayor if people could start parking on the sidewalk again, but
We
leave
know that some
space.
driveways aren't being used, that they park on the street rather than in this driveway.
I have no idea, Kathleen. All I know is it's a big problem.
Is it
And I
what-
know that
What was the
we
answer
were
to that?
told not to park, for two and a half years, we were told not to park on the sidewalks because and the whole city parks on the sidewalk. I had all the pictures and I threw them on the table and I said, look, you're picking on Beachmont. So he said, tell the people they can park on the street so we can, because when we had when they were parking on the sidewalk, and no one should be parking on the sidewalk, but up there they should. Well, you know, and I just, you know, I understand that.
You have younger families coming in with baby carriages. You have
Can't
older
pass
people,
by.
it's a handicap issue. You can't, where are you gonna put the people in
I
the street?
understand that, but don't pick on two streets when the whole city's doing it. Right.
I think what we could do, this Bellingham's tight, you know, we can get down tight areas, but there's a couple of choke points maybe in that road, maybe we can put a sign, no parking for that spot, eliminate a couple of spots, or cut, bump out,
Right.
you know what I mean? Make
Yeah.
the crosswalk still, so
Well,
it's
that's what we
ADA
talked
compliant,
about,
but
just
maybe.
bump out,
Right.
so we wouldn't have to move
There's
the
just a couple of
trees, we
spots in
wouldn't
that road
have to
that
move.
it makes it virtually impossible to get down.
Well, we were talking about just widen this, because there's an
The street.
8-foot, I measured it, it's an 8-foot sidewalk, and all you need is 4.
Maybe 5.
Yeah, so if we could take 3 feet off, and he was saying, well, what about the trees and the, you know, the telephone poles? And I said, you could bump them out, because they do it in Winthrop, they have bump outs. They, you know, they did the streets, the sidewalks over there, they didn't touch the trees or anything, they just bumped them out. So they have the parking space, you know, and the indentation, and then a bump out, and then the indentation and a bump out. And I don't really think that it would be a problem, because if cars park there, it would take care of the bump out.
I'd be more than willing to go down that street and just
But we look,
photograph, mark those spots and just.
we look at the left, going down Bellingham, we look at the left-hand side, a lot of those stairs from the houses that are up on the hill.
Yes, they're right on the sidewalk.
Dump out on the sidewalk, they encroach on the on the city sidewalk.
I'm talking about the right-hand side.
I understand that, but that was, we were gonna end up getting a couple of feet, and all the catch basins had to be removed. It wasn't a slam, it wasn't, you know, a slam dunk. It was just so involved. And, it was gonna take, I think, well, Michael, Jefferson did a takeoff on it, and the numbers were, you know, astronomical.
Crazy.
They were crazy. So.
What were the numbers, just so?
I don't remember. I remember looking at them, and it was gonna eat up like pretty much all of our, you know, a big chunk of our budget to do other streets and sidewalk work. And, I mean.
Like over $1 million.
Michael, well, we can revisit it on Monday and just say, you know what, if you wanna find a funding source for it, we'll do it.
But I'm just trying to make a point, it was
Yeah.
like, it was a lot of money.
Yeah, we didn't have it, there was nothing in the capital plan for it. I mean, we have a capital plan, and we have to follow it, it's our roadmap. And, you know, we have the next couple of years laid out of what we need to do for streets and sidewalks, and that was just gonna, you know, pretty much eat up pretty much all our resources.
Right,
So, you know, you gotta pick your battles.
right. But if there's ever a fire down there, God bless.
You
I know, I get it.
You know, that, it's Bellingham, and there's other streets that I go down with my pickup truck, my City of Revere pickup truck, that I have a hard time, you know.
Right, I get it.
Well, even the snow removal, I mean, Jimmy Mercurio said that it was really difficult, that sometimes he'd be stopped there and because the cars blocked him, he couldn't go, and then he's on a hill. And, well, you know.
I know, I was on,
You've seen that
I've been
before,
on
right,
the,
Joanne?
I've been on the snowplows.
You know, Beachmont,
Many times,
you know,
it's crazy.
to the point of Beachmont, you know, Beachmont is probably one of the oldest parts of the city.
Yes, yeah.
And, you know, like, so, you know, our plan is to do work on Winthrop Ave. And I go down Winthrop, you know, there's no plan to replace the water line on Winthrop Ave, but I'm looking at the hydrants. They're quarries, you know, they're what they're called a quarry hydrant, from the early 1900s. I mean, I mean, that's just incredible. So, you know, we have plans on paving that road, and I said, you know, we gotta start systematically replacing the hydrants, and we've already started. You know, the water department did a couple, in the last couple of weeks.
I'm paying such close attention to you, and this one sneaks up behind me. Very, very quietly, we're not gonna make a scene, and I nearly had a heart attack.
Okay, we're gonna take one more question. No. We're gonna call it a day. One more question, and we're gonna call it a day.
Okay. No, I have, okay, we're worried about Unity Avenue at the end of it, it's all chopped up, there's big potholes in it. The stairway, the public stairs going up are in bad shape, but the worst thing that's happening on Unity is the fence behind Reddit's that's broken, and some people have, actually, kids have cut their hands on the wires that are there. It's a really dangerous thing.
I'll call Agencio. Yeah, that's no problem.
And I think that I won't go any further. I mean, I have a couple more, but you've answered almost everything, and we really appreciate your attention to these things. And I'm sorry that I took up so much of your time. I know that Kim had some other questions, but.
But can I meet with you?
Yeah.
Meet with me anytime.
Come to our next Beachmont Improvement Committee